Hey folks, welcome back to Only Best Fancy Novels. My name is Robin, and today I want to talk about the Blackfire Blade, which is the second book in the Last Legacy series by James Logan. And The Silver Blood Promise, the first book in the series, was one of my favorite books of last year when I read it. So to say this was one of my most anticipated releases of the year is putting it mildly. And this book was a good follow-up, but at the same time it does things a little bit differently, just enough that I can certainly see it not working for some readers, and I'll kind of get into that get into that in a bit. But what is this book even about? So following the events of the Silver Blood Promise, Lucan Cordova and his proteges, we should call him, I guess, have arrived in the city of Karsova, where they intend to visit the Blackfire Bank to open the vault there. Um, but of course, things don't go according to plan, and as is the case with the Silver Blood Promise, when they fail in spectacular fashion. Before we know it, Lucan and his proteges are basically in a race against time to save their lives. So it's pretty much hijinks similar to the first book, but there are some key differences here that can make or break this particular sequel for some people. So the first one I want to talk about is the characters. Now, James Logan proved with the Silver Blood Promise that he is a good writer. He's an entertaining writer. He can write a fun book. Like, I actually called him Scott Lynch Light. Called the Silver Promise Scott Lynch Light in my video on that, and that holds true with this book as well. Like, this is it's a entertaining action adventure kind of story, with some hijinks here, some heists there. It's a fun romp. It's a fun fantasy romp from start to finish, and that's very much the case with the second book as well. The difference with this book and the first book is that now the cast is expanded. Where the first book we had, like, the heart and soul of that book for me was the dynamic between Lucan and Flea, his sidekick. In this one, we have an expanded cast with Asher joining the team, and with her inclusion, the dynamics changed in a different way. We have, in some cases, we have a clash of personalities. In other cases, we have Flea's attention being divided. So between those two factors, we don't have the same level of back and forth banter and trash talking that we did in the first book. That really elevated that one for me. This one, the dialogue is much different between the three of them, and we also, like I said, we also have the tension between these characters because they didn't initially, like the way they came together is directly as a result of the events of the Silver Blood Promise, and for at least the first half of this book, it was pretty much them working out the kinks of working as a team, working as a unit. Of course, by the end of the book, they're pretty comfortable by that point, as we see, as can be expected. So the dynamics are different, and because of that, like, it directly impacted the dialogue, it directly impacted the plot, the way that we experience the plot as a reader. And I think that, like, because of that, I think a lot of the humor, a lot of the fun that a lot of people had with reading the Silver Blood Promise, they're not necessarily going to get out of this book. And that's not a bad thing, that's not a good thing. It's just a different direction. It's just a different take on the story. Do with that what you will. So there's that. The second thing that I want to highlight about this book that's also very similar to the first book is that in the Silver Blood Promise, my video on that, I said that the way that the plot is structured, it's almost like you're dealing with side quest after side quest. Like, to get to A, you need to deal with B, and before you can deal with B, you need to deal with C, and before you deal with C, you need to deal with D, and you basically go down a whole rabbit hole like that, and then you come right back up, and that's very apparent here again with the way that this book is structured. Like, it's just one thing after the other, and they just keep digging deeper and deeper, and then they need to dig themselves back out until we hit the climax. So in that way, like, the structure is very similar to the first book. So by the time the second event rolled around, like, I was like, you know already which direction this is headed in. You can already tell for the most part how the entire book is going to play out. So because of that, like, it lost a lot of the it lost a lot of the kind of surprise. Like, you already know which direction things are going to head. It's just a matter of reading through and playing it out. That being said, the journey to get to that ending point is still fun, because, like I said, James Logan is he is good at writing a fun story, and the story is fun from start to finish. Like, the hijinks that they get up to, it may not necessarily be as humorous as the first book, but it is very much in keeping with that kind of with that kind of more light-hearted, adventurous kind of fantasy story. So there is that. And then we have, of course, the finale of this book, which is both similar to the first book and different in that in this one we end with a cliffhanger. And the final thing to note about this book is that for the vast majority of it, we spend just dealing with the consequences of previous actions, to the point where you begin to wonder if there's ever going to be any overarching plot progression. And we do get that. We do get that in literally the last few percentages of the book. But it is significant what happens. It is significant, and now we have a very clear view of the stage that's being set, of where things are going to go from here. And I don't know how many books are planned in this series, but with what's revealed to us at the end of this book, it's very conceivable that everything could wrap up in the next book. Who knows? I guess we'll wait and see for ourselves if this goes beyond the trilogy. It certainly has the potential to go beyond the trilogy, but at the same time, if it stops at the trilogy, I wouldn't be surprised. All of that being said, overall, it was a fun reading experience. It was just a fun adventure. The character dynamics aren't necessarily they weren't the same as the first book, which for me personally stripped a lot of the fun I had out of reading the book, because it as a result of the way that the dynamics worked, it didn't have as much of the humor and these kind of things that made me enjoy the first book. But the story itself is fun. It was fast paced. It flew by really well. Like, this is a fairly lengthy book, and I just absolutely blew through this book. I think I read it in two sittings, which is, like, normally I would take a bit longer for a book of this size, but I just absolutely blew through it. It just went down so smooth. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about the Blackfire Blade. If you're a fan of the series, I think you'll enjoy this book. I don't think you'll enjoy it as much as the first book, but I think you will enjoy it. And it does set the stage for some interesting things to come. So let's see what happens here. But if you're a fan of the series, I'm very interested to know what your thoughts are in this book, because I can see it being a bit divisive, given the direction that James Logan has chosen to go in. And who knows? Hopefully it works out well. For me, it was a fun experience. It just doesn't hit quite as... It's not quite as impactful as the first one. It's just different. And different doesn't necessarily mean bad. So, yeah. That's pretty much all I have to say about the Blackfire Blade. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you next time.